Growing up outside Boston, Mass, in a small town called Swampscott, I always thought that I was gonna be the starting shortstop for the Boston Red Sox. And never in a million years would I have thought that I'd been a man that would have become addicted to drugs, alcohol, and the seedy lifestyle that I lived for so many years. 1978, there was a blizzard that came through Boston. We all got snowed in, and while my family was downstairs, I found myself going up the stairs, and although I don't remember it, this is how the story is told, that my mother came into the closet and found me with a stuffed animal. All of the dresser drawers opened up, and I had a bag of cocaine rubbing all over me and the stuffed animal. You know, and back then, DCF didn't show up and pull you out of the house. I did get rushed to the hospital, and I was medically cleared, and I went back to my home like nothing really happened. My parents did the best that they could for many years. I grew up with my mom. My dad had left us at a very young age. And I didn't have a whole lot of guidance. But what I did have was sports. What I did have was this massive hole inside of me that I didn't really know what to do with. But anything that felt good, I chased. And for me at a young age, like I said, it was sports. And I'm grateful for that because that kept me focused for a period of time. But the moment I snuck that alcohol in me, and I'll never forget it, it was purple and gold bag, and I opened up the liquor cabinet. I had that first drink, and the warmth that came over me, and that hole was now full. And I felt like Superman. I felt like I could take on whatever was in front of me, and I was less than 12 years old. I chased that for a long period of time, and by the time I was 16, I had now dropped out of high school. I was running around with guys that I definitely did not belong with. I was getting into a whole slew of trouble and just running game. When I was 17, going on 18 years old, my father showed up to my house that I was living in with these guys, and he was seeing the lifestyle that I was living, and I just had a gun put to my head, and I was way in deep. I was on the polar opposite end of maybe what my parents were planning for me. But I was making decisions for my own. I had all the answers, and my dad said to me, "Mark, you're going back to Boston." And he gave me $2,000 and in a broken down car without air conditioning, and I drove from Florida all the way back to Boston. And that's where my journey began. When I was 19 years old, I got into the financial industry, and I did really well. And by the time I was 24 years old, I was the vice president of a major insurance company. I made my first $1 million at a very young age. Shortly thereafter, I learned how to party at a whole nother level. And this big boy job and all this money that I had gotten had quickly been gone. And I found myself fired, unemployable. The car was gone, the house was gone. So I did what most drug addicts do, is I did a geographical change. And I picked up all my stuff and I moved to Florida. I moved back to the original scene of the crime where I learned how to party, because that's all that I knew is how to run. And I learned that at a very young age. I ran from relationships, I ran from my family, I ran from authority. I never really knew how to just settle in. So when I came down to Florida, I got to reinvent myself. And what happened was I got another big boy job. And I cleaned up. And I started to show up. And I thought, well, that was just a period of time in my life where, you know, that was then and this is now, and I get to reinvent myself. So I did. And I'll never forget, you know, I ran hard for 2 years, and I was focused and I was driven and I was showing up to my family. And one day, these hurricanes crisscrossed the state of Florida. And all it took was for me to smell this odor of marijuana from my neighbor. And I walked up to him and I said, "Hey man, what else can you get?" He said, "What do you want?" So I told him my drug of choice, and it was there within minutes, and I was off to the races. And anything that I had built, it came crashing down, but this time there was so much more devastation. Family wasn't talking to me. My house was gone, my car was gone once again, and I was on the street. As each day passed, with one more gratitude list, showing up and helping somebody else. Not being so selfish and self-centered, I started to grow, and I started to recognize this guy that I was enjoying being. And the woman that had left and said, "If you want to kill yourself, go ahead, but I'm not going to stand by and watch," now accepted my hand in marriage. blessed me with 2 beautiful children, Maven and Max. And now I get to be the dad that I always wanted to be. I got to love on my kids. I got to talk to them about God. I got to give them something to model after. It gave me purpose. But then this thing overcame me where I felt like, man, if my kids ever turn out to be as sick as their dad was, where would I send them? So I went to my loving wife and I said, Maciel, if Maven or Maxie ever turn out to be like me, where would we send them? So I stand here today not better, not worse than anybody, but definitely properly motivated, because more times than not, we're beaten down in the beginning and we have no hope and we're scared and we're afraid. No matter how fearful you may be, that I was extremely fearful. I had no hope, let alone not picking up. Being a dad, being able to be inspiring to others, to be in a position to create an environment where families and loved ones can come and heal. Legacy Healing Center is far more than anything I thought it was going to be in a short period of time. Thousands of families have been healed because of that. Had I ever not gotten sober, I never would have experienced any of this. And I feel like I'm just getting started. Thanks for listening.